Welcome to the Heavenly Treasury broadcast, where we help believers achieve God's financial abundance for your life. I'm your host, Ron Turba, author of the upcoming Heavenly Treasury series on biblical finance. And an important note is that the first volume in that series is now officially in publishing as of yesterday. So we are thrilled that we're able to get this book going and moving and being able to get the very first copy in your hands when you're ready. Okay, if you want to be on that list and be the first one notified, if you want to be on the be one of the very first ones notified when it's out and ready, send me an email. It's in the link in the description below. I can't wait to hear from you. I can't wait to be able to get you your fresh copy as soon as it's off the print. So with that being said, we're going to come here today with another great and glorious content on biblical finance, because the important thing is this. God wants you to be able to increase where you are financially. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing for a living, no matter where you're living, it doesn't matter. The Lord's principles in the Bible are going to work for you. The Bible talks about money significantly more than any other topic that you could even think of. More than marriage, more than parenting, more than friendships, even more than sin, more than heaven, and even more than salvation. It talks about it that much more. So if it's important to God, it's got to be important for you. And not the top priority, because again, the Ten Commandments state that in the very first one, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Can't think about money above him. Totally get it. Totally understand. However, it's got to be more important. Most likely, if that's not you and that's not the case, it's got to be more important than you're actually making it. And once you understand that it's actually got to be more important and that there are good things for the kingdom that can be done with your money, or the money that you're going to be able to earn and generate through your resources, guess what? You're going to realize, wait, I should be making this a higher priority than it actually is. I should be. And so that's what I want to be able to get you to understand from the very beginning is increase is for you. It's your birthright as a believer and a saved follower of Jesus, because Jesus died for more than just your sins. If that was the only thing he died for, if it was just your sins and your salvations and your transgressions and everything you've done in the past, believe me, that's worth it to follow him. It is. He is that important in my life, and he should be that important in your life as well. However, I want you to understand that there are other benefits to that. So one of the ministers that I get some spiritual food from has kind of made the analogy that getting saved is like a cruise ship. You get on the ship, and once you get on the ship, you're assuming you don't jump off and due to some stupidity and bad decisions on your part. That cruise ship is headed for heaven. It's not headed for Australia. It's not headed for New Zealand or China or Saudi Arabia or hell even. Or the moon or anything like that. It's headed to heaven. So that's the cruise ship that you're on. But you also, as you start getting more and more involved in your walk of faith with God, there are other sort of, how did he put it? Rooms on the cruise ship that you can enter in for your enjoyment. One of them, of course, is healing for all of your sicknesses and diseases. Every single one of them. Again, this is not a broadcast on healing or faith. I mean, we talk about faith principles significantly because that's very important to your walk financially. But when it comes to sicknesses and diseases, the Lord has a nice area on that cruise ship for you to walk in when you get sick, and ways for spiritually to be able to get healed. So you don't have to wait 6-12 months for a disease to go away. You don't have to spend millions of dollars in a hospital or doctors or specialists all over the world trying to figure out what the heck is going on inside your body. There are other ways around that, all right? That is not a topic that I'm going to ever cover on this broadcast, unless, of course, the Lord just pinpoints me and said, today you're going to talk about that regardless, okay? But there's also another room on that cruise ship, and that is financial abundance. Because technically speaking, again, we don't really get very technical in the word about, oh, it says this versus that, or did you think about it this way? We don't really do that here because I don't think that really benefits you as a believer. It doesn't benefit you to kind of get nice revelations from the Bible that don't really do anything or apply to your life. Now, revelations from the Bible and his word are very important. I get mine on a very regular basis. Believe me, very, very important. But from my perspective, if I'm going to take the effort and the time to talk to you about this, I want it to be for your benefit, because if you're not getting benefit, then I'm wasting my time, and I don't want to do that. I'm here because I want the Lord to give you and download a supernatural revelation in you today, not tomorrow, not an hour from now, not next week, but right now through this broadcast, to be able to get you on a good direction and a great path for your life. And that includes financial abundance. Now, abundance means very different for different people. I am very well aware of that, okay? If you are living in your car right now and you want abundance, abundance may mean a one-bedroom or a studio apartment, 500 square feet, because that's a roof over your head, and when you flip the switch, the lights turn on. There's a lot of people out there that don't quite have that right now. So abundance for you means something very different than somebody down the street, family of 4, husband and wife are both working, kids are in daycare that they don't really like. They're not getting good guidance in that daycare. We'll have a lot more to say about that at the end of this. I think you'll be very, very pleased with it. But just understand that person's abundance may mean everything in their house is paid off. Everything in their lot is paid off. You know, the paid off cars, paid off house. That for them could mean abundance. But so abundance really is a measure of the heart. But at the same time, you also have to understand that when somebody looks at your life, they have to desire it if you want to get more people saved. Now, you can get people saved if you have absolutely no money at all. It doesn't cost money to get somebody saved. So that's one of the few things in the Bible that doesn't cost any money, is getting somebody saved and bringing them to the knowledge of Jesus. However, it is much more effective to get people saved when you are living in abundance than when you're not living in abundance. Because if you're going to talk about how great and mighty and powerful your God is, and you are not living in abundance, and you're living a stressful life, you're not sure where your money's going to come from, you can't pay your bills, you don't have anything left over, you're not investing for the future, anything like that, and you say, wow, I serve this great, mighty, powerful, living God. You should serve him too for this reason or that reason. If somebody's struggling financially, looking at you, they're going to think, listen, if your God's that powerful, what the heck is going on with you, right? And so that's one of the big things that why being financially abundant is very, very important, not just for you, not just for the believers who are coming in, but also so that your life can be a reflection of God's word, okay? And that's honoring him. That's a great way to honor him, is to live the way he wants you to live. And there's a blessing associated with that, particularly financially. So that's one of the other big reasons why money should be higher on your priority list. And so the focus of this broadcast, it's not the focal point as in all we talk about, but most of the time we're going to discuss topics that have to do with your increase financially. And so what we're going to talk about today is mentorship. So I want you to think about what you're doing right now for a living. And when I say mentorship, I'm talking about in the area of finance. I'm not talking about in the area of parenting, marriage. This applies to all that. But I want to focus on the financial aspect first. So I want to ask you this. Do you have any current financial mentors? Do you? Okay? Is there anybody in your life guiding you financially? Is there? So I'm asking you that because in order to get where you want to go, you're going to have to learn either through experience or education. Experience or education. And if you think I'm never getting any mentors whatsoever, no matter what, it doesn't matter. Well, guess what? You're going to learn through experience. And if you thought education was expensive, try learning from experience. It can be significantly more expensive. Anybody who's ever tried to flip a house without ever studying or learning or being mentored by somebody who's done it multiple times throughout and successfully, you learn the hard way that it can be very, very expensive. And you got a very expensive education. How many of you have flipped a house that you've never flipped before or done any sort of real estate whatsoever? You said, well, my buddies are flipping houses. Housing market's going through the roof. I'll try it too, okay? You know what? In a couple of months, I'll fix something up, get something that's cheap, and just fix it, flip it. Everything will be fine, and the housing market's just taking off. It'll be good. But then things happen. Then you didn't realize that contractors can ghost you. Then you didn't realize that inspectors aren't the greatest. Then you didn't realize that 10% interest-only loan from Angel Oak had to last 3 months instead of 1. Then you realize your real estate agent doesn't really feel like working more than 2 days a week. You found out the hard way about house flipping. You did, okay? And so, but somebody in the forefront who's done this multiple times could have mentored you for a few hundred or maybe a couple $1,000, walking you through that to say, before you take this house, this is what the upfront cost is going to be. This is what's wrong with the house. This is what has to get fixed. This is what buyers decide. This is what buyers really desire when it comes to a house, and what's going to make it easier to sell. Even just an extra $500 here or there on a house could literally be the difference between a sale and not a sale. Because a house, you believe it or not, is a very emotional purchase. Even though it's one of the most expensive purchases anyone will ever make in their lives, even more expensive than a college education, if you choose to go that route, it's still a very emotional purchase. Because once people walk inside a house, it's not just a physical property, it's a home. And a home is an emotional piece of you. It really is. And anybody who denies that, it really has to take a step back and think, well, is this really a house or is this a home? Yes, everything we have belongs to the Lord, but there's still an emotional attachment with it because you had a lot of experiences there. It's where you wake up every single morning. It's where you pray and read the Bible every single day. If you do, I hope you do. If you don't, I would highly recommend you start now. So it's a lot of certain pieces to wherever you're living right now that really are involved in making a home. So you have to be able to think about that. That most people do not think about when they start getting into real estate if they've never done any research or had any mentorship whatsoever. And I don't know why I'm picking on real estate for whatever reason, but just from my perspective, that's a big area that a lot of people will dip their toes in, or even just say, you know what, I'm going to go full on head first without even thinking about anything, without making any sort of education whatsoever. All right, I'm going to do it. So those are things that you really have to step back no matter what you're doing. Even if the Lord has said, go into real estate, He's not saying go into real estate alone. He's saying go into real estate. That doesn't mean I'm going to quit everything. I'm going to go get a real estate license. I'm not going to study anything about housing whatsoever. I'm just going to go in. I'm just going to, hustle and hustle and hustle until I make it work. Well, it's going to take you a lot longer to make it work than it could if you had some mentorship. So that's one of the big reasons why mentorship is very, very important. And historically speaking, mentorship has been a significant part of most economies throughout the world, particularly in the Bible. When you look at Old Testaments, particularly in ancient Babylon, one of the richest cities to ever exist, even though it's complete dust right now. And in fact, it's so full of dust, ancient Babylon is today, that nobody even knows where it is. Nobody could even bookmark or point out on a map, this is where ancient Babylon used to be. There's none of that. That's how long gone it is. And the Bible prophecies from Ezekiel, Jeremiah about the city of Babylon, they came true. And it's no longer there. But during those times, there were one of the big ways that people got themselves into the marketplace as their first entrance to be able to earn and generate money was through an apprenticeship. And an apprenticeship, we still have some of those similar today, particularly for HVAC workers, contractors, midwives is a big one where you have to do a sort of an apprenticeship. Let me tell you something. Nobody wants to have a midwife who's never seen a birth before. All right? Just imagine a woman who's pregnant giving birth to their first child, and they hire a midwife or even a doctor who's never actually seen a live birth or handled a newborn baby before. That's never going to happen. So that's why apprenticeships are there, so that even if a more experienced midwife who's had 500 births under her belt has an apprentice with her, the mother-to-be, or the mother in this case, because they're already a mom because they have a baby in their belly, just because the baby isn't born yet doesn't mean they're not a mom. But putting that aside, the mom would be a lot more comfortable, even if the apprentice is there and doing a lot of the work in the baby and the birth. They're still a lot more comfortable because they're with the mentor who has that experience and that knowledge of that case. So that's one of the big ways that apprenticeships have been around, and a way that a lot of people got into the marketplace. Because remember, as soon as you're, especially for the young men listening to this, if you're a young man, you have to be able to have some skill set to be able to get into the marketplace and generate a good income. So where do you get that skill set? Today, most people say go to college. But prior to 50, 100 years ago, what did they do? They learned from somebody who already had a skill set, and that was an apprentice. So an apprenticeship really worked in both ways. It benefited the mentor and it benefited the apprentice. Why? Okay, why did it do that? So for the apprentice, obviously benefits because they get paid an income working for the mentor, and they get the skill set. So they get payment and a skill set. Those are two different things that an apprentice can get, and why apprenticeships are been so important and vital to a lot of economies in the past, because it's a way for the men, it's particularly the young men. I'm not saying putting the women aside, but in most cases up until the what you want to call the women's rights movements in the early 1900s, most of the economy was generated by men. And the way that men got in that was mentorship, okay? So you got experience, you got skill set, and you got payment as an apprentice. No apprentice worked for free. You still got paid something, okay? Because the mentor had to give some financial incentive for you to stay there. But the mentor also benefits because they get a reputable employee. And on top of that, when the apprentice first goes out on their own, well, they need some funding to be able to get their own shop, whatever shop that is. Blacksmith shop, a roofing shop, plumbing shop, or flooring shop, whatever shop that is that you're going into, well, they need some upfront costs. Well, who's there to provide that? The mentor. And if a mentor has 5, 10 apprentices over their lifetime, well, guess what? Now that mentor has invested in 5 or 10 shops that are generating income, and there's retirement, and where they don't have to work the shop for the rest of their life. Now, retirement, again, not getting into the biblical aspect of retirement, but just the reality is that's a way for a mentor to kind of ease off the workload as they get into their latter years of life. When they're having children, when they're having grandchildren, when they're having great-grandchildren, they don't want to be working in a shop 40 or 50, 60 hours a week. They want to be able to have money coming in, working for them, so they don't have to work for their money. You see how that works for the apprentice and the mentor? That's one of the big reasons why mentorship has been so vitally important. So, what can mentorship really do for you? Now, we're going to get into how to accept mentorship in the next broadcast. But for this particular broadcast alone, I'm going to focus on what mentorship can do for you. So, the first thing is this. If you have a job right now, your professional mentorship is, for all intent and purposes, the company you work for and your supervisor, both of them. So that's who your financial mentorship is coming from, because they're the ones who are providing the company, the equipment, and the knowledge and training for you to do your job. That's required from your company and your employer, whoever that is. Even if you bring the skill set with you, there's still guidelines that you have to follow when you're working for an organization. Even if you're a contractor, which is a lot of what I do, I contract for different firms. And even though I bring my skill set with me, I still have to follow their guidelines on how they want, not necessarily how they want the job done, but how they conduct themselves as an organization, because I'm under their umbrella. All right. And so if you have a job, that's really what you are. You all your mentorship is coming from your job. But once you make that leap from servant job to laborer, now you have to be able to have someone guiding you. You have to, because if you've never done that before, somebody has to be able to tell you who and what to do. Okay? And you've got to be able to develop skill sets beyond that. What do I mean by that? Let's go into scripture really quick so we can get some good knowledge and some good wisdom out of this. So to remind you, I'm not going to talk about the four marketplace movers in this because I've done that quite a bit, but I am going to focus on the laborer just for a second. As a reminder, here's what the laborer is. This is 2 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 7. This is when King Solomon is constructing his house and the temple of the Lord. And so here it is. King Solomon says this, "And now send me at once a man who knows to work in gold, and in silver, and in bronze, and in iron, and in purple, and in crimson, and blue, and knowing to engrave with the skilled men who are with me in Judah and Jerusalem, whom David my father has prepared." So somebody who has that level of skill set is very, very skillful and very, very knowledgeable and very, very intricate with their skill set. That's a very highly desirable skill set. So if you have a very highly desirable skill set, you've got to be able to market yourself to a high clientele. You can't do that on your own just knowing your skill set. The clientele are not going to fall from the sky. Do you understand? So that means you have to get mentorship in the area of marketing, advertising, and communication. You do. That's the mentorship that you require. If you're the very, very best at whatever your skill set is, and you become a laborer or you desire to become a laborer, guess what? Your skill set alone is not going to produce that income. There's a significant increase in your income when you do become a laborer. But I'm going to tell you this right now. That skill set, the increase in income as a laborer has to be coupled with increased abilities in communication and better skill set than you currently have at your job. Both of those are significantly important. And if you've never gotten mentorship in that area, you have to. Now, I want you to kind of focus on this. Mentorship does not mean I'm going to go find a rich man and empty my bank account and give it to them and just follow every single word that they say. Not quite. Mentorship literally could mean instead of watching Netflix at night, I'm going to read a book at night. Instead of watching NFL football for 10 hours a day on Sunday afternoons, I'm going to watch videos on communication and skills. Maybe I'll attend an event. Maybe I'll take a lesser vacation. Maybe with the income I have now, I'll take a lesser vacation with my family so I can afford to go to an event where I can learn these great communications and people skills. That's an example of mentorship. It is. Mentorship doesn't necessarily mean one-on-one. It doesn't. It would be nice. And believe me, the Lord will put people in your path that as soon as you take the steps to becoming a teachable and coachable, He will put people in your path to be able to do that. But just understand that just because you go to an event where 300 other people are there and you're getting mentored by the person on stage, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not having a mentor. It just means you're sharing a mentor with 300 other people, which is fine if you get the benefit out of it. Because you probably spent $300, $400, $500, maybe $1,000 to attend that event. But if you got that speaker one-on-one, you'd be paying $15,000, $20,000 for it. So what would you rather spend in your current financial situation? $500 or $20,000? Okay. Now, $20,000 is going to get you a better investment for your future. But if you don't have the 20 grand, guess what? 500 plus travel, another 500 to $1,000 depending on where it is, $1,500 max. Guess what? You're at most $2,000 all in. What was your last vacation? How much did it cost? So those are choices that you can make. Do you want to live comfortably now and be on the sinking ship to be destroyed by the inflation tidal wave? Or do you want to get into the laborer? That's the choices you have to make. Those are choices you have to do when it comes to mentorship. And we're going to talk about that in the next broadcast. But right now, I'm just trying to get you focused on why we accept mentorship, biblically speaking. Here is also really why. And this is from King Solomon in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. This is verse 12. Although one might be overpowered, two withstand him, and a threefold cord is not readily broken. That means when two people work together, it's very difficult to be overpowered. And when three people work together, it's nearly impossible to be overpowered. So for example, if it's just you and you're single right now and you have no kids and you're trying to get better and improve financially and you have a mentor on you, guess what? Your mentor may not be holding hands with you while you're out in the battlefield, economically speaking, but he is giving you the tools to be able to do that. That's a twofold, okay? That's twofold. Threefold would be you, your spouse, and the mentor if you're all working together and on the same page. Okay? So those are ways for you to be able to accept mentorship and why it's so important. Why it's so important, okay? And I've really kind of discussed how mentorship can really help you and improve yourself financially, because I have gone over so many times that literally your income could double overnight and by becoming a laborer as opposed to a servant. What does that mean in layman's terms? If you move from being a job, an employee, to an employer of one, you as some sort of independent contractor, so to speak, where you market yourself out, literally you could double your income overnight. You literally have. I have done that. When I went from a job to a contractor for my skill set, my income doubled literally overnight. And it can be for you too. And guess what? I'm not the only one who believes that. I'm not. So that's something else I want to focus on too. Okay? So it's not just me pointing this out of thin air or out of some book I read that, well, I read it in the book, so I'm going to give it to you. I've lived it. And I'm not the only one who's lived it. Here's somebody else who's lived it. His name is Josh Tolley. He is an entrepreneur and a business coach, and he is somebody that I have personally learned from. And in my opinion, there's nobody who knows more about business from a biblical point of view than him. When it comes to actually running a business, owning a business, getting into business, he is probably the only person I have ever met that can take a complete stranger who's been in a job for literally 60 years, come to him and say, Josh, I want to start a business. What do I do? And in 2 minutes, Josh will say, you do this, and this. Now you're in business. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. I don't use the word magic. I don't. But the Lord has really blessed him with his experience and his wisdom to be able to help other people get into business. And he is one of the people that really emphasize the ability to be a master and a laborer in the marketplace for me. So he is somebody that I really, from a business point of view, really admire, and somebody that I would recommend to anybody. I would. Here is a video that he did. I don't know when this was published, but this is from his Facebook page. And I want to show this, and I want to play this really quick, because this is an example of something that happened to some of his clients during COVID.
Americans can't financially make it in the wealthiest country the world has ever known. It's because most Americans are not doing things that will even create it, ever. And it's amazing. I'm not saying everybody should be rich. That's not my message. I'm not that guy. But it's amazing how somebody will be like a school teacher for 10 years, complain that, oh, only the wealthy have money, and not realize they had the opportunity to make it too. They just didn't take it. I have met so many teachers who since COVID have become private tutors, and they have instantly gone from 60 grand a year to 280 grand a year, teaching the same amount of kids. Like, if you're not going to take the opportunity, then it's not the system that's even the problem. It's not God that's the problem. It's you.
Okay. So there's a lot of meat in there, and I'm not going to analyze the man's video because it speaks for itself. But the one thing I'm really going to dive into is the example that he said where a school teacher can go from 60 grand a year to 280 grand a year. Now, if you're a school teacher watching this right now, that probably seems impossible. And if you're a school teacher right now and you're the typical, I don't want to say typical, but if you're somebody who has followed the union line, has towed the union bullet points and talking points throughout your entire life about how teachers are entitled to more money, and that they should have large pensions, make 100 grand a year every year for the rest of their life, despite working 3/4 of the year, all of that. If you're that person and that's the way you think, then you're probably going to look at somebody like him and see what that man just said and basically want to throw a shoe at the TV screen. Because if you're not understanding what I have been talking about a lot, then you're going to look at that and say that's impossible. You're saying that I'm the problem, that I didn't take an opportunity. Where's the opportunity? Where's the opportunity? It didn't come in front of me. Where's the opportunity? You're saying I'm just lazy? That's probably what you're thinking right now looking at that if you're a teacher. It probably is. So I really want to dive into this really quick because he said, well, you had the opportunity, you just didn't take it. I'm going to spell it out for you right now. So now you have the opportunity. Now you're going to have the opportunity to say, okay, I'm making 60 grand a year. Or even if you're a preschool teacher, one of my business partners right now was a preschool teacher before she got in business, was making 30 grand a year. 30 grand a year as an elementary school teacher. I think she was teaching preschool or kindergarten, making 30, maybe 35 grand a year. And now she makes more than that per month. So fantastic. Hats off to her. She's great to work with. But I want you to understand that he said you had the opportunity, you just didn't take it. And for a lot of teachers out there who have never had any business acumen, again, not putting you down, but if you've never had business acumen and you listen to that, you're going to want to throw the shoe at your screen and break it, because you're going to look at that man and say, what opportunity are you talking about? I'm a teacher. What opportunity is there right now presented in front of me or even out there on some job site to earn 280 grand a year? Well, that's where I'm going to fill in the gap right now to put some math in your mind to be able to get that opportunity. But the most important thing before I do this, the most important thing is this: you cannot hate rich people. You cannot hate the rich. You cannot say, I'm entitled because I'm a teacher to make more money. If you have any of those, this is not going to work. So that is the very first thing you have to understand. You cannot hate rich people. And why do I say that? Because it's biblical. If you're going to earn money God's way, you cannot hate people who are in the position you want to be in. Do you understand that? So what? Wait, would the Bible tells me not to hate rich people? Yes. Here it is. Proverbs 28, verse 11. A rich man is wise in his own eyes, but the poor, here it is, but the poor who has understanding searches him out. Now, you don't search out somebody unless you want to learn from them. You're either going to learn from them or you're going to kill them. One of the two. You're going to give them a piece of your mind, or you're going to say, teach me, teach me, teach me. In this case, because it's coming from King Solomon, who is the richest man who ever lived. He's saying the poor man who has understanding searches out the rich man to learn from them, to learn how to get rich. If they have that desire, if they have the desire to get rich, they're going to search them out. They're not going to complain. They're not going to vote one way because they don't like them. They're going to say, what do I have to do and how do I have to do it? And we're going to get to that in the next broadcast. But what I'm going to focus on right now is the math on what Josh said in his reel about how a teacher can go from 60 grand a year to 280 grand a year, for all intent purposes, overnight. So let's get into that right now. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over here, and we're going to draw this out. Okay. And we're going to do one moment here while I set this up. God, I love producing my own show. It's fantastic. It is a lot of fun. If you've never done a stream before, my goodness, this is one of the most enjoyable things I do all week. Even though the Lord called me to do it, it's super fun. Super fun. Even though I gotta manage a bunch of stuff, all you see is me. All you see is a bunch of screens. But I'll tell you what, it's so fun to do this, and it's been a really joy to learn. And I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna be on right now. I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube right now. I'll be on a Facebook page and a Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, very soon. When I get all four of those, I'm going to do a video on how do I stream on multiple platforms at the same time. Because there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of questions on it. I did it the hard way. I'm going to do it for you so you don't have to. Okay? But back to the key story is, how does a teacher go from 60 grand a year to 280? Well, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to do this just a little bit differently. Why? Because I don't know what state or area or type of teacher that Josh was referring to now. I live in Tennessee right now. I live in Tennessee. I don't plan on moving from Tennessee But yeah, that's where I live. So I'm gonna do these numbers based on what Tennessee is right now on average. Okay, so I'm gonna go with public school over here. Okay, so the cost per pupil. When I say pupil, I mean student. Okay, it's entrant into the school. That's kind of the terminology that they use is the word pupil. Okay, the cost of that school, the cost by the state to put that student in school, that pupil in school, is guess how much? This is Tennessee. $10,000 per year. This is per year. Okay, that's $10,000 every time you see a student getting off the bus to go into school. That the state is paying $10,000 for that student. Now they're getting some of that money from your taxes. For me in Tennessee, I don't pay income tax. They obviously give me high on property taxes, but they also get federal grants as well from the Department of Education. So it's not just state tax money; it's also now $10,000, all intent and purposes across the country, is pretty low. If you look at New Jersey, for example, there are some cities in New Jersey where the cost is over 20 grand per pupil. 20 grand per pupil, and some of those schools don't even graduate half the kids. So take that for what it's worth. But for this point of view, cost per pupil, $10,000 a year. How many students, pupils, jeez, I can't even write. Let's just switch to student. Students per class. Let's go with 20. 20 students in a class. So the total revenue for that class is $200,000 a year. Okay? And what is the average teacher salary in the state of Tennessee? Average salary teacher. How much is it? It's about $50,000 a year. So the difference. So if I do the difference, difference is $150,000. Oh, that is 5,150,000. That's the difference. Okay? So if you're a teacher right now in the state of Tennessee, your average salary is $50,000, but the amount of money that is poured into that classroom for you to teach is $200,000. So where's the other $150,000 going? Where is it going? Well, it's going to your principal. It's going to your administrator. It's going to your bus driver. It's going to maintaining the building. It's going to the materials. It's going to all, and by administrators, I'm not talking about just administrators in the school. I'm talking about the superintendent has got to get paid. The education board has to get paid. Everybody politically that's involved with that school has to get paid. So there's a lot of people dipping their toes into your classroom, and you're getting paid 25 cents on the dollar. Now, if you're a teacher right now with any sort of business acumen, you're going to think, I'm sorry, I'm getting used and abused. And you're absolutely right. From financially speaking, this is how to be honest with you, this is the economics of most jobs. When I first started in my first consulting firm outside of school, I was making 18 cents on the dollar for every dollar I billed. If I billed a client for $1, I would only get paid 18 cents. And that's it. My salary, my bonuses, my incentives, my benefits, all of that. That's all of that. It's not just salary. It's all of that. All right. And so 18 cents on the dollar is what I was getting paid. As soon as I figured that out, I said, there's got to be something different. I can't go this way because I got an owner that for all intent and purposes just barely doesn't really care about me. I mean, not that they don't care about me, but economically speaking, they don't wake up thinking, man, I hope I gotta go to work today so this guy can have a nice life. And there was none of that. None of that whatsoever. But if you're a teacher, you didn't get in this for the money. But in my opinion, money should at least be at the forefront of what you're doing. Because I'm going to tell you this. You have a good skill set. you have a good desire, and you have a good vision for what you want to do with your life. You want to educate the next generation. And that's fantastic. I want you to do that too. So what do we do? All right? What do we do? If you're in this position and you want to be able to earn better money than you are, but also continue fulfilling your job as the next generation, what do you do? Here's the math, okay? And so I'm not going to go from 60 grand a year to 280, which is what Josh said. I'm just going to give you one example. This is just one example of how you can go from 50 grand a year to 200 grand a year. So how do I do this? So how do I get here? If you're a teacher, well, I'm going to show you how right now from the math. Okay, let's say for the moment that you are no longer in a public school, but you have a teaching skill set. So number one, one of the reasons why you're paid 25 cents on the dollar is because the students are brought to you. That you may think that's really strange, but the reality is the students are brought to you. The clientele, I mean, nobody ever thinks of students as clients because they're not the ones paying you. Okay, but the reality is they are in essence, if you're just looking at your teaching in your classroom from a business point of view, yes, they are in some semblance of a clientele. So the school system and the state are basically bringing your clientele to you. So if you're a teacher and you want to go out on your own and not be in a school system, or even a private school that maybe pays a little better, and you want to be on your own as a laborer, that means you have to find your own students. So let's say for the moment that instead of the students being brought to you, you're gonna go find your students, and let's say you find 5 students. Okay, let's go with a different color. Let's go with green over here. Okay, so we're gonna go private tutor / teacher. Okay. All right. So now you're going to go find 5 students. Okay. So where are you going to teach them? You're going to teach them in your house. You're going to have some building that you can teach them in. All right. And we'll get to that in a second. So, but let's say for the moment, you charge each student $100 for a 4-hour day. What? Only 4 hours? Yeah. All they need to learn is 4 hours worth. If you're a homeschooling parent, do you teach for 8 hours a day? No. We homeschool our kids, okay? Very rarely on any curriculum do they spend more than 4 hours a day. That's it. And that 4 hours is heavy into content. But after that 4 hours, we're doing other activities to give them a holistic life and a holistic education to give them and prepare them for outside. And so if you're going to choose that route, you're going to go heavy on all those classes, and you're only going to choose content that's actually important. You're not going to choose stuff that they don't care about. So you're going to charge $100 for 4 hours. Okay? But wait, who's going to pay $100 a day for 4 hours? Do you know what babysitting costs? Babysitting? Okay? For 4 hours babysitting, you're looking at $60. $70 a day. Anybody who babysits, pays a babysitter or a nanny for their kids, that's about what they're paying. $15-$20 a day, $20 an hour. That's roughly what they're paying. So for an extra $5 or $10 an hour, you're not only going to have somebody watch your kid, but they're going to teach your kid. And somebody in that financial position would say, okay, I can do that. I can do that. So don't ever think that, oh my goodness, there's nobody who's going to pay that. Yes, they are. To get their kids a good education. Listen, do you have any idea what parents would do to give their kids a good education? Seriously, just go. All you have to do is go to YouTube and look at the voucher system that in some of these other schools to get them into charter schools, to get out of public and into charter. The parents are literally crying if their kid is selected in the lottery. So don't ever for one moment think, I can't do this. These people don't have enough money for this. People will, here's a secret. People will find the money when they want something that badly. People will find the money. I don't care what it's for. It could be for a wedding ring. It could be for a vacation. It could be for their late mortgage payment. They will find the freaking money. And it's there. and they will find it, especially to give their kids a bright future. You darn well better believe they're going to pay it. So don't ever think, oh my goodness, nobody's going to pay me $100 a day to teach our kids. Oh yeah, they will. If you're that good at your job and you're that good at being a teacher, yes, they will. Okay? So take the excuses and leave them out the door. You're going forward. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And if he called you to do this, and he called you to step out of that public school system where you have zero control of what you're teaching them. You have zero control. And in fact, even if you want to teach them something else, you're fired. Can you talk to them about God in your public school? Case closed. Okay? So stop making excuses. Stop making excuses right now. Just because you're a teacher doesn't mean you're supposed to be low on the freaking totem pole. You're teaching our next generation. All right, get it together. I'm sorry. Okay? All right. So economics of this. 5 students for a 4-hour day. That's at $100 a day is $500 a day. $500 per day that you're making as a private tutor or teacher. So what is that per week? So 5 days a week is $2,500 per week. All right. So if you're making $2,500 a week in revenue, guess what? What is that per semester? Okay, about 20 weeks in a semester. So we're gonna go 2,500 times 20. That's going to be, let's see here. That's going to be 50,000 per semester. That's what you're going to make per semester. 2 semesters, 100,000 per year. So that's working 40 weeks out of the year, the same you're working at public school for half the day that you are for a double the pay. There you go. How would you like to cut your hours in half and double the pay? I just showed you how. Now, if you want to get to that 200 grand a year, let's say for the moment you can have 2 sessions. So that means if you have 2 sessions of, 7:30 to 11:30 a.m. and then 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. So you could have 5 students for the morning session, 5 students for the afternoon session. Okay? That's about what the average teacher works. They don't work just from the morning bell to start to the closing bell at the end. Because remember, they got to grade papers in the middle of this. Okay? They got to grade papers. They can't do that because they're teaching all day long. So they have to grade. They have to prepare for their class beforehand, and they have to grade papers afterwards. And maybe the school requires them to be in extracurriculars. So let's just say for the moment that you say, you know what, I'm going to take 2 sessions. Maybe you know what, I'm okay working that much. 7:30 to 5, maybe I'll do it. It's your business. Why? Because you're on your own. You're a laborer. So if we do 2 sessions, all right, now there you go. 200. Okay, there you go. There's the math on how you get to that 200 grand a year that your public school is bringing in. Right, there it is, right there. 5 students in the morning session, 5 students in the afternoon session, okay? And $100 a day for a 4-hour time period where you're watching the kids and we're watching the children and teaching them. Okay, you're going to do both, right? So you're going to do that. You're going to have your own curriculum, which you can teach. You can talk to them about God, which you can't do in the public school. All right, all of that. An entire holistic lifestyle that's significantly better. You're still pouring into the next generation. You're still doing exactly what you love doing. You're still doing literally all the skills that you're doing in the public school, you're now doing in the private setting for 4 times the money. 4 times the money. And in this scenario, you're still only working 40 weeks out of the year. You're not working the summer. You're not working the summer. Now, on top of that, if you really wanted to sweeten the pot and get to 280, you could do SAT prep, which kids will pay $80 to $100 an hour to do. You could do video conferencing on the weekends or something like that to be able to teach more kids. Maybe you have kids that are in public school. Maybe they can't afford $100 a day, but they can afford an hour an evening for $50. on Zoom or something like that, where somebody walks them through the math curriculum or the science curriculum or the English curriculum or the geography curriculum for an extra bit to help them pass a class that they're falling behind on. All right, all of that can add up to, if you really have the desire to get to 280 that Josh was talking about, that's how you do it. So you can add, that can easily add up to 80 grand. And when you do this, you're in business for yourself. You have your own, for all intent and purposes, education company, even if it's just you, right? You could do that. And if you really want to get good, you could literally rent out a building and employ a couple of other teachers, pay them more than they're making now, and still bring in revenue. So imagine if you had, this is just one session, okay? This is just one area. If you had 2, 3, 5 of these, now you're bringing in $1 million a year in revenue. And on top of that, everything you use for this business is written off for your taxes. All the supplies are written off for taxes. All the gas that you use, if you have to go bring kids there, that's written off for taxes. And you can even charge a fee to bring for you to go pick up these 5 students or drop them off, because you got an hour and a half in between class. You know, parents drop them off to you, you bring them back for another 20 or 30 bucks. They'll do it. It saves them time and effort. What's gas going to cost them? And why not put that in your pocket? Okay? Especially if all the kids live together. Listen, once you start getting the wheels turning a little bit, this stuff comes naturally. It does. It does. And so I want you to start getting in the mindset of, I'm no longer a slave to some system that I hate just to earn money. I can be free, do it God's way, do it the way He wants me to earn it, talk about what He wants me to talk about to the next generation, and get paid literally 3 to 4 times. This right here is the blessing of the Lord makes a man rich and adds no sorrow. Right here. So this is why, no matter what industry you're in, there's a path just like this for you. There's a path just like this for you. So that's what I want to leave you with today. And in order to make this happen, you've got to be able to have mentorship. Because you know what the hardest part about this, assuming you don't hate rich people, assuming you have some decent business acumen, you want to know what the hardest part about this plan is? It's right here. 5 students. Getting 5 students, because you know how to teach, you know how to handle kids, you know how to do all that because you did it over here. Okay? Your hardest part is finding the 5 students. And so if you don't know how to do that, you've got to be able to get mentorship. You have to be able to get mentorship. And it may cost you. It may cost you some time. It may cost you some money. It may cost you some resources. But is it worth it? Is it worth it? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So that's what I want to leave you with today. There's your path that Josh was talking about. So now you do not have the excuse of the opportunity was never presented in front of me. I just did it. I just did it. And as I'm doing that, I'm shaking my whole desk because I'm literally that excited for you. If this is you right now, if you're a teacher watching this and you do these steps, I want to hear your story. I want to hear your story. And I'm coming on and I want you to come in and I want to interview you. I really do. I want to interview you because I want you to understand this. You've got to understand that this is your future. This is how you get in the Lord's path for your life. That's how you do it, because this is how He wants you to earn money. This is not how the system wants you to earn money, because they make it so hard for people to be able to do what I just described, and they don't teach you how to do that. And there's a reason for that, because I don't want to use the word system because I'm not really naming names, but the society that we live in does not really incentivize you to do that. But here you are. Once you do that, watch what happens to your life in every way, shape, and form. In every way, shape, and form. So with that being said, again, if you're a teacher like this and you follow this through and you succeed, and when you succeed and you start making what you're making, please, all I ask is that you send me an email and describe, hey, this is me. I saw this video. I took the steps. This is how it happened. And this is where I'm at today. I want to hear it. I do. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see you succeed beyond your wildest dreams. Beyond your wildest thinking dreams. So with that being said, that's why I do what I do. Because I want you to succeed financially beyond your wildest dreams. So with that being said, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for watching this broadcast. I'm on every single day. Not every single day. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Broadcasting right here on Twitch, on YouTube, soon to be Facebook and Twitter and X, all that. So you can find me in a lot of different places. And my book, again, the first volume of the book series is in publishing as we speak. Very excited about that. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.